All right. Another episode of Confessions of a Street Broker. And my longtime homeboy here. Longtime competitor, yet good friend, Stephen Williamson from Lee Associates. Stephen, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah.
Long time coming.
So, Stephen Williamson, Lee Associates, principal now.
Yeah.
Got that production numbers. So, me and Stephen have known each other pretty much since he got in the business. He showed up in my territory, calling on my clients and all those things. But, that's the game. You know what I mean? I don't hate the player, hate the game. So, we pretty much became good friends pretty instantly through that. And so worked a lot of deals together and, so excited to have you here. So I guess, why don't you just start off? Tell us, where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up in Southlake, then went to A&M, did undergrad, and then did grad school at A&M.
Yep.
And kind of always knew I wanted to be in real estate. My dad's a banker. Well, you know him.
Yep.
And then my mom's an asset manager for Woodmont and Fort Worth. So kind of knew I always
didn't know your mom
that.
worked at Woodmont. That's interesting.
Yeah, she was at Greenway for like 10 years.
Okay.
And then went over there. She's probably been there 8 years now.
Okay. All right.
So did that, and then I wanted to be in office originally because that was sexy back then.
You would have definitely qualified. You got the socks, and
I learned that from Nathan. But
I'm shocked Nathan was never an office broker. He would have slayed it as an office broker.
You'd have been the best. But yeah, I interviewed with like 12 different groups, and then wanted to do office, and then met Scott Alexander at CB. I was at CB back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, hey, you need to call Nathan Denton. So I called Nathan.
Yep.
Went interviewed with them. And I remember Mark Graybill told me, hey, you might want to look at doing industrial because you do user sales, investment sales, tenant rep, leasing. So I started kind of thinking about it. And I was like, that's actually a really good point. Rather than just doing landlord or tenant rep or whatever it is in office.
Yeah.
So then Adam and Nathan hired me, and that was to be 8 years in June.
So first job's Lee Associates.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be your last job.
Probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, y'all always think of Lee and Associates as the better dressed version of Mercer Company. So
that's a good analogy. Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Very similar makeup of dudes. Very similar way y'all look at deals, work deals. So so you go to work for Adam and Nathan. So that Adam was Brook Hollow, South Stemmons corridor. So y'all don't really, y'all do territories, but y'all can kind of float a little bit or.
Yeah, like now, I started in Brook Hollow obviously with you, and then now it's kind of like I have a listing, I think, everywhere but the Northeast. So kind of just, but you can kind of it's not like certain places where you have a territory and you have to bring in somebody from that territory to do a deal.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, I wanted to do the airport in the beginning because I was from Southlake.
Yeah.
And I remember they were like, dude, you're going to get killed. You don't know left from right. And thank God I didn't.
Yeah, the airport's a tough nut to crack. That's where Turner was in the airport. And he was like, hey, will you come over here call on bigger stuff with me? And I was like, sure. And we did that for about a year. And I said, why don't you just come to Brook Hollow? It's a lot easier. This is
way easier. I remember walking into Samsung. I went calling over there one day. And I walked in the building and they had like a metal detector, like security guards, at the airport in Coppell or something. And I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So I went right back to Brook Hollow.
Yeah. It seems sexy, but it's
corporate.
It's a very, very corporate. Lee and Associates is a pretty good business card for that too. Y'all have that platform for that kind of thing. But still, I still don't think of y'all as a national shop, but y'all are, which is.
It's a good mix because you do have the name.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to Southern California, like I was there in February, and you see a Lee sign everywhere.
Yeah.
But then some of our offices are really good and some of our offices are kind of crap. But
yeah. Well, that's what some offices don't do all asset classes, right? Some offices just kind of do one thing or something like that. And so you're working South Stemmons. I'm working South Stemmons. This is 16 when you start.
Yeah.
17. That was when things kind of started that was probably about the time private equity put the term urban infill together, and voila.
Yeah. Now Brook Hollow is everything everybody wants.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted it before that?
No, nobody wanted it. So I'd say 2017, 18, it started, Stephen, we have $1 billion. We want to buy down here. These guys have $1 billion? It's like, what?
And you're just slinging buildings because, they don't know any different.
They don't know any different. And the real interesting thing, and we were just kind of talking about this beforehand, is like, what I noticed in Brook Hollow was a lot of institutional money would come in all of a sudden, and they needed to buy a deal that like was worth starting the engine for. So it's like, we need to buy like a 50, So they buy a 50, and then they want you to lease it, and they want the same rate you can get a brand new building at the airport for. It's a tough leasing assignment.
Yeah, that's not how it works down there.
It's not how it works down there. Brook Hollow is it's primarily made up of entrepreneurs.
Right.
And I'd say below 25,000 feet, you can probably get things leased up. I think above that, up to 75, 80. That's a guy that owns a business and sits in Dallas. And he's going to own that property and be good with it because he has a 72-foot truck court, but he owns the building and he can live with it. Right. He makes his employee live with it because he owns the real estate.
Well, and that's like the cool thing about Brook Hollow too, I think, and a lot of institutions don't get it, but they're the small guys, like they're mom and pop. So you see everything from a guy who sells, widgets to, piping or whatever, or if you go to like, the airport, it's all distribution.
Right.
And these are like little guys. So, I mean, you can get a relationship with them like you and I did, but if you come in there and you're like, wait, hang on, you mean to pay what now? And you just come in here and I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
They're like, F you, dude.
Yeah.
There's not how it works.
It's not. When I started in Brook Hollow, I would move people to save money. And that never really happened. That hadn't happened in over 10 years down there, I don't think.
I feel bad almost.
Yeah. I would say Brook Hollow definitely got inflated by the amount of capital that came into it. And it's probably not coming back down. Now, if you owned your building, worked out very well for you.
Oh, you killed it.
You killed it. So, but to that point, what was interesting is like now you're seeing people in the Brook Hollow market that will move to like Redbird or something because they're like, I'm not paying $150 a foot for a building anymore. And, I think the prices are kind of softening now on it, but I don't know. It's an interesting. It was interesting watching all these companies come in and then they really have challenges leasing their buildings. And they're not like, well, we can't sell it to a user. It's not part of the business plan. But yeah, it's like, well, that is the business plan down here. Like the business plan is users will pay you for these things. And I kind of call it became to the point where it's like a man from a foreign land is the person that has to buy a building down there because you can't sell it to another Brook Hollow guy because he's looking at the building going, I remember when that thing wouldn't trade for $25 a foot.
Right.
Why am I going to pay you $150 for it? Like, so there's a lot of disconnect with that. And probably why I don't buy in Brook Hollow.
I don't blame. Well, I got to give you credit because I remember, God, it was probably 2019. Mm-hmm. And you were like, we were just BSing one day. And you're like, dude, why do we keep selling all these buildings to these people? And, they're making all the money at the end of the day. He's like, I can go do this. And I was like, kind of like, okay, yeah, I mean, I get it, dude. We all get frustrated, but you freaking did it.
Yeah.
So I give you credit.
Oh, well, my whole thing was, I was like, okay, well, they need us to find the deals. I just need to know how to find money. And so I've just kind of shifted my.
What year was that?
I bought my first deal in February of 2020.
So yeah, it probably was 19 when you were talking about it.
My first deal I bought off Romy. He bought a building in Little Elm. He goes, hey, will you list this for me? I was like, why don't you just mark it? He paid $400,000 for it. I go, why don't you just put $100,000 on top of it and sell it to me and I'll syndicate it. And so that's what he did. I bought it off him for $500.
That's wild.
And my first raise, I had to raise $250,000 or $225,000. And I was like, I don't know if we'll be able to do this. People give me money.
It worked out.
It worked out. And now it's like, I'm kind of like, if you can't write a $250,000 check, we're going to talk. So, but yeah, that was the first deal we did. And I was just like, Romy, what are you doing with it? It was really when he was kind of in that twilight of, starting off to like really growing up. And he bought that building like right in the middle of that. And it's like, hey man, you're too big for this now. He's like, yeah, you're right. I am here. Kevin.
I remember whenever Turner and you toured him through a building I had on Sovereign. Him and Sam came in there and he's like, oh yeah, we're running with this guy. Didn't know who he was at the time. Yeah. And that was, God, that'd be 2018?
Yeah, maybe? 2018, 2019, something like that. Yeah.
It's wild how it's all changed.
Yeah.
Because like how much brokerage do you actually do now?
Not much. I mean, renewals here and there. Listings I know I can just for sale. That's a total, like I was telling you about that property on Halifax I'm going to list. Like, how hard is it to sell that building?
Right.
That building's a shop on 3 acres in Brook Hollow. Go find it.
Yeah, right. Doesn't exist.
So listings that I know I can execute very quickly on, renewals, or just a massive deal. Like, the group we were looking at Bellwood with you, if it's $16 million deal,
that's worth your time.
I'm going to rep somebody on that.
Yeah.
It's funny. Tomorrow I have a kind of round the world tour on 200,000 feet of leased listings that I have. Me and the owner, and I'm giving them away. Because I'm like, I'm not working on this anymore. This is not what I do anymore. And so I'm meeting one broker that I was like, this is the guy we need to hire for this one. Meeting him out at the site, introduce him to the owner. This is the new leasing agent. I'm kind of just becoming the asset manager to a degree. I third party manage these assets for this family, and then another one's 150,000 feet. And I'm like, and these are the guys that need to list this one.
Good for you.
And I'm done. Here you go.
So you don't take a fee or anything?
No, I just give it to them. What they need to make money. They need to go do their thing. It's a distraction to me. It's funny. I have so many ideas in my head of what I want to do now with this platform. And it's like, we hired an analyst the other day starting in like a week. And we interviewed another guy today just because he was very impressive through through applying and all that stuff and had a good resume. And he left. And I was like, I'm going to hire 2 analysts. Just have 2 guys just grinding out data to find deals to buy. You know what I mean? Like,
if you can find them, it's hard to find people who are good.
Yeah, no, this is pretty interesting. We put an ad up for an analyst. We had 180 applicants. We threw 100 resumes just out the door.
Sure.
Just garbage, no way. Out of the 80, we sent them a math test to get a stabilized yield on cost. And out of the 80, 11 replied. Out of the 11, 7 were worth interviewing. And we hired 1.
That's crazy.
I haven't seen some of them and then we gave them an exit portion of the math after we interviewed them. So like, here's the next step. You got the first step right now. Here's the exit of the asset. Underwrite that. So I haven't seen the results of everybody there, but the guy we hired nailed it and seemed like a good fit. So
it's hard to hire people now, especially when you get them in, then you don't know for 6 months and you waste 6 months.
Dude, just, yeah. We just had that here with the property manager. Just vaporized on us one day. So,
it's also weird too. I was talking to somebody else about this, and this is not throwing stones, but I feel like hiring younger people in general, especially in brokerage, is even tougher than it was.
Man, I think what it is people don't want to do what it takes.
No.
Only certain people do. That's just like what we were sitting out there. We're just a second ago, we were talking about Chase Miller.
Right.
The guy's a psycho.
He's insane.
He's at the office at 5 a.m. He leaves at 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Like, he's at the office Saturday and Sunday. Don't think he ain't.
Oh, I know he is. That's crazy to me too.
Yeah.
I knew he was beating his dad and just nuts.
But that's what it takes, right? So if you want to be at that level. You can make you do not have to work at that level to make good money, but
for sure,
you do have to.
You have to grind. Yeah.
You have to work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids right now are like, oh, I don't want to get Fridays off. Like, no.
I went to South Lake to pick up something with my parents this morning. It was like 7:30. And this kid I know, he started in brokerage. And I guess I was talking to my brother for a little bit. Anyways, I left at 8:30 and his truck was still in the driveway. And I was like, dude, you just don't get it.
Mm-mm.
Like, you're just not how it works.
No. Well, I think, I always wonder, is that us talking like these kids these days? Because didn't people say that about us, right?
Probably, but I don't know, man. I think it's different.
Isabella's shaking her head. She thinks there's a lot of weak sauce out there right now, Isabella. Yeah.
See?
Isabella's a grinder.
I'm sure she is.
Isabella opens and closes the office every day.
Good for you. I always see your name somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a machine. So, but I think a lot of them just don't want to work that hard. Like, and you know what? A lot of young people that got into brokerage, it's been pretty damn easy for the last 9-10 years.
Like, I've never even really seen a downturn.
Yeah.
I've seen it slip off, but I've never seen 08 through 10.
Yeah. Well, it's getting a little tougher out there right now. Like, you actually have to go explain to your landlords why you're not leasing their space versus like, oh, they just showed up, leased, done,
Oh, there's so many weekly calls and reporting now. It's like, gosh, we're back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, well, okay. So you live in South Lake now, right?
No, I just moved to Midway Hollow, actually.
Just moved to Midway Hollow.
Yeah.
All right. Going to the Park Cities?
No, never Park Cities.
No. Okay. Where's Midway Hollow? I've heard of it.
It's like Midway and Northwest Highway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you sold your house in South Lake?
Yeah, Clayton Johnson actually bought it from Transwestern.
How funny!
Isn't that wild?
Did you like tell him, or like he just had a real estate agent and you did?
Yeah, I put it on the market Thursday night, and then he texted me. He was like, "Hey, dude, is this your house?" I pulled it up on CAD, and I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm touring it tomorrow. I'm making an offer."
Oh wow!
So I had a couple of offers, and he gets married this month. So
that's cool.
Kind of threw my bone, but he's a good kid.
Well, what was your? Tell me about your funniest or your worst cold call you've ever made. God,
when I worked design, I would wear stuff like this. That's when I first started dressing like Nathan, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I had some money. And I would get hit on quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'd go in these art.
Believable.
Yes. And I'd sit there for 2 hours, these guys just, chit-chatting up. And I was like, oh, well, there might be a deal. Never was a deal. Yeah. And then when I first started, I was in Quebec and I parked my truck. I was like 2 months in the business, living at home, like seriously, like no money. So I came back out and when I make calls, I always park my truck and then take street by street and come back usually.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway, so I finally came back and all 4 of my tires were slashed. And then I was Trey Fricky at the time. He was being nice. He's like, hey, I have this pitch in downtown if you want to come and you can sit in on it. So I left my truck there, ordered an Uber or whatever it was at the time, ran up there to meet him, and then Reed Bassinger drove me back, and I had to tow my truck and get new tires. That was like the worst. Like, dude, come on.
On Quebec? Quebec's not that bad of a street.
It's not that bad.
Huh.
But that was probably I just remember the time I was like, seriously, 2 or 3 months living at home, didn't know left from right, just trying to make calls. And I was like, dude, come on. So that was probably the worst. And I did walk in on Sovereign. I guess it was 8600. Anyways, on Sovereign Row. And I had a lease that was getting signed that day. Walk in, there's a crackhead shooting up. It smells like, crap. And there's needles and backpacks and belts everywhere. And they scare the hell out of me. So I tell them like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah.
Clean everything up before the tenant comes. But, I don't see that as much anymore, I feel like.
It's funny. I started in the design district. No one hit on me. I think it was very obvious.
You dress a little different than I do. So.
But you know what made me leave the design district is I got down there one day at 9 to start making cold calls, and everybody was closed. No one is at work yet.
Oh, yeah, sure, for sure.
And I was like, I went back to the office and I just went to Jeff, can I go to Redbird? I'm not going to fit in a design district. It's just not going to happen. So I left, went to Redbird.
I'm surprised Jeff was down there for as long as he was.
Man, what's funny is he was successful at it. Now, I think maybe it was a little grungier back then. It was more warehousey than it is now. Showroom type stuff. But he made a pretty good career down there. But like I couldn't figure that thing out.
Yeah, I got tired of people thinking their buildings are worth $400 a foot, and it's like, okay, dude.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't feel like they were real businesses. I felt like it was somebody that had a hobby business, and I don't know. I just couldn't. It just didn't excite me. And then when I couldn't go make cold calls at like 9 a.m., I used to like be in my first cold call usually by 8:30, and like because I could be done by 11:30 and then just do whatever I needed the rest of the day. But like I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like I need to be talking to people at this time, and I was just like, I'll go to Redbird.
It is hard to relate to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, like you go to anywhere besides design, really, or maybe the airport too, but it's like you can just relate more.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's Robert Blankenship's made a career down there though.
He's for sure.
Haynes has done pretty well down there.
Yeah.
Haynes is pretty.
Haynes is very
pretty.
Like Haynes, if anybody can make it down there, it's Haynes.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I left the design district. I had no interest in it. So what, tell me about like your most unique deal you pulled off, like direct, playing checkers, moving chess pieces.
It was definitely Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Because Adam and I had pitched for Proto. That was also a crazy story that you got involved in eventually.
Yeah.
That one stung. But so we were pitching for Proto Park, 3200 Irving, and pitched it with the girls in Fort Worth, streaming and getting it. And then somehow we found out that...
Yeah, don't they automatically default to stream every time?
I was going to say, it's it's always, it's pretty easy. But anyway, so we somehow found out that CB Capital Markets and Tim Vogt was marketing the Tuesday morning buildings, 1.2 million square feet, Addison Farmers Branch. And so I sent it to Susan, and Adam was working with me. And they were like, oh, we love this. And they're like, this is perfect for us.
Yeah. So
we signed the NDA, sent everything over from CB, and didn't think we had a chance in hell of pulling it off, really. But and long story short, they partnered with Pennybacker. You know, Rialto was going after it the whole time. I mean, this is a thin air. Like, CBRE had no idea who M2G was.
Yeah.
Rialto was, one of their big clients. So we were having to fight tooth and nail. We started at, I don't think they care if I say it, $50 million and went, further up from that.
Yeah.
And we were in and out, like losing every step of the way, but just kept chipping and chipping and chipping. And Susan and I, that's how Susan and I got to be so close, because we talked 5 times a day.
Yeah.
Long story short, finally won it and closed December 31st, 2020. And that was 2020.
Yeah.
That was a wild time.
Yeah. That's a big slab of buildings right there. Yeah. Now you're selling them.
Now we're selling them.
Yeah.
Rich has been a big help. So,
yeah. Well, you kind of knew, so, let's talk about that deal. Going into that deal, you got to know Tuesday morning is, a little shaky on credit. Now, I will say this, they did get out of the office building.
Oh, yeah.
They sold the office building.
Did you buy that?
No, I was close. I had a 1031 buyer that was real close on it, but he ended up getting cold feet. Probably a good idea.
That's whenever you had was it your ACL or something?
Oh, my ankle. I had my ankle reconstructed.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was working a 1031 and someone else bought it. So I'm glad they got rid of it at that point, because it'd be a hell of a lot tougher now to get rid of it. So,
for sure. That was great timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun one. And so it's been, and eventually the whole play was, it's 46 contiguous acres or whatever it is, more or less, and then 10-year $1 billion redevelopment. Tuesday morning, to your point, went BK again, so that changed things. But I think we'll do really well on it.
No, that's pretty cool. You get to sell it again.
Yeah.
So that's you hang around the hoop long enough, these things happen. So
it's all about relationships too.
It is. It's I've never done a deal with Susan. Her and I had a building under contract that we were trying to. It was one of the old Fry's facilities in Arlington, and we had it under contract. And man, I thought we were going to get there, but God, it just had all these city hurdles. And she had to drop it, and I totally get it because it got really.
And that was like 21.
21, I think. Yeah.
That was a tough deal.
It was about the same time. I remember because I was on my scooter and there was right after my ankle surgery. So, they're really creative. They see things I don't see sometimes, it's funny. I think I texted her that I go, hey, who comes up with your ideas for like your renderings on your buildings? I need to have someone look at something. She goes, well, we do.
Oh, I know.
I was like, okay, I can't hire you. So,
right. Do you mind if you help out?
Yeah.
They're very creative.
Well, yeah, no, they're interesting, man. They've done a lot of things in Proto Park. Man, the rate, I can't believe they achieved the rates on Proto Park that they got.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's out in the market right now too, isn't it?
I heard that they got pretty good ask.
Did they?
I think they're asking 150, and I think they got like right at that or a little bit over.
Yeah. God, I'd circled that building, I think my whole career. Just.
Oh, everyone did. If you worked in Stemmons.
If you worked in Stemmons, you circled that building and more supply, just man, they had a death grip on it.
They're still a problem child,
Oh, I'm sure. Man, but when that lease expires, they are getting a broad shot across the bow.
Honestly, they kind of deserve it too.
They do. But you know what? I think that's a situation of having a tenant that's more sophisticated than the landlord.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's sometimes I see this a lot too. I see that. I think landlords need more representation than tenants do.
Agreed.
Like it's the landlords need more. It's the leases we see on stuff. Sometimes I'm like, you agreed to this?
Right.
We were looking at a deal in Oklahoma City, and they had fixed renewals through 2044 on the deal. Gross lease. No base years. And Oklahoma's a disclosure state. So as soon as I buy that building, the taxes automatically go up to what I paid. I'm like, and they had some attorney that worked for them that did this. I'm like, he should be fired.
He should be disbarred.
Yeah. I mean, like you literally just cut these people's legs off. And so it's crazy how people devalue a broker sometimes. Like, and they just go, hey man, I didn't have to pay a broker. Look what I did. Yeah, look what you did. Like,
right.
There's a client of mine. I sold him a building on Sovereign Road. I sold him like a 25 on Sovereign Road. He owned a 10 over on Premier. He was moving from the 10 to the 25, and he was always like, yeah. When I get that ready, you're going to list it and sell it. And then I kept following up with him. One day he goes, man, you're not going to believe this. My buddy came in, offered me a deal, and I did it and kind of got to save the realtor fee and da-da-da-da-da. I go, oh, yeah? What'd you sell it for? And I know he told me who his friend was. I was like, well, that's just kind of a sophisticated owner down here. Like, told me, I go, well, you left about $750,000 on the table. He was like, or it was like $350 or something. I was like, my fee would have been like $50. Like,
it's so short-sighted.
I was like, the sheer look on his face was like, what?
That had to make you feel better, though.
No, yeah. It was funny. Like I was telling you about that one deal I'm fixing on the list. They called me and they're like, hey, we're gonna sell this again, and you need to sell it. And they're like, well, what do you think we should list it at? And I said, like, this. And they were like, I was almost $1 million higher than what someone was bringing them offers at.
Oh, always.
And we're not even on the market yet. We're probably going to get pretty close to that with a group. And so, man, we don't sell 3.2s in Bedford. You know what I mean? This isn't a house.
Right.
These things are so unique, from clear heights to land components to truck loading to power. there's so many different variables that go into what can really value one of these things. You better call somebody that knows what they're doing.
Well, that's the thing too. I think like if you trust them, like I think, like Trey Frick always says is people like you and they trust you, they'll work with you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain guys, we both know that you're like, okay, I don't trust that guy. But like, I mean, you and I, for the most part, like I'm never going to scream about it. I'm trying to help them make more money.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have to pay a little bit on top to help me make you, like to your point, make $500,000 more, why would you not?
Yeah.
It's just so short-sighted.
I think a lot of people just don't really respect.
No. I think you're a realtor.
They're like, oh, you're just driving around in a car doing some stuff. They don't see all the times you get your teeth kicked in, and it's pretty. I don't know. You know what? I'm glad it worked out for you.
Well,
kind of.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. God, we are very fortunate to do what we do, though.
No. So what do you? What's like your kind of daily thing you do? Like what's kind of something you got to do every day to make sure before you go out there and do all these, make calls or whatever? Like, what do you do to prep, or like kind of what's your habits and routines?
I don't really use a CRM. I mean, a lot of people do, and I think that's probably a very smart way to do it. Yeah. I'm very just like legal pad, write down my stuff. And I usually try to do it on Sundays. I'll just think about it and then send myself emails and reminders. That kind of helps me get focused for the week. When I first started, to my point earlier about, getting in early and stuff, I know Todd and a lot of people were real big on that. I would get in really early, be in my chair by 6:30. Mm-hmm. Back then, our goal was 100 calls a week. I know Mercer's is like 50. And I'd go make calls, park my, truck on Sovereign, loop back around, go to the next street. I was terrible, and I regret this, about doing follow-ups.
Yeah.
There were so many deals I walk in and be like, gosh, I called him that guy and he sold his building or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But, so that was my big thing. I think I did that for a couple of years, and that helped a ton, kind of get to know your market. But now, honestly, it's really just kind of relationships. I mean, I'm on the phone constantly, all the time. Whether it's talking to you or it's talking to the broker or at breakfast, like Will's Narduzzi is great at that. That guy networks more than anybody I know. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever it is. So I really try to do that.
Desserts. He doesn't drink.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point. Desserts. That's right. But I mean, I'm always trying to talk to somebody too, because it's always like, it is funny. Like, you'll go meet with somebody and, like even just friends, like, I'll learn something from you and vice versa, would never use it against you. Mm. But other people will say something and you're kind of like, okay. You kind of, put that in your head, and then, seriously, you make money off stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm always just trying to information is key, right? What we do is kind of insider trading.
It's totally insider trading. That's totally legal. Right. It's awesome.
Right.
Like, it's interesting, sitting on the principal side of things now, because I really just, I see a lot of information from a lot of people, right? And it's great because I can, I knew how to use that in the broker's days. Now I can still think of okay, well, I did this deal over there. I know those guys. Okay, can I put this here, do that there? You know what I mean? And, or, just from another one of our sites, I'm like, well, hey, these tenants are in the market. Like, this fits these tenants, and stuff like that. And so it's, I agree with you. It's being able to know your market, know your asset class, and being able to just to be able to articulate those things to, if you're working with a client, right? Like, they want to know, what's going on in the neighborhood, right?
100%.
And it's very obvious. It's very obvious when a broker shows up, has no clue what's going on. Like, I've seen that before with national groups. Like, they'll show up and, there's a couple national tenants in Brook Hollow, and they'll show up with, they're on the, we're on this corporate real estate service company now. It's like, oh, well, last time when you came through with JLL, we already told you all this. And the last time when you came through with, whatever other company. And
I do think that's a disservice too. It's crazy that I get it. They have to have all the accounting and all that stuff and background work, but it's dude, no offense, but that guy doesn't know anything.
Mm-hmm. No, I found a deal one time for a group in Brook Hollow, and they we start working proposals on it, and then lo and behold, I get the phone call from national brand brokerage. Hey, we have a national exclusive with them. I go, well, I think you need to let me work this with you. No, we've been working on this pretty hard. And I just listen. I go, so hard that you couldn't find the building next door. Like literally, the building next door is what we're talking about right now. Like,
what'd they say?
Corporate, dodge. And so what ended up happening, the deal didn't make, but the tenant, like up at corporate, they're like, hey, you're going to share your fee with that guy. So if something was, and we started working and then it didn't happen, but if it was going to happen, I was going to get paid.
That's still pretty cool though, for the tenant to do that.
Yeah. And then it's like, I was telling you before I came in here, I had that one tenant for that building I'm fixing to list. Like they have a site where they did a 10-year lease, and I found the deal off market. I knew the tenant was moving. It used to be McKinney trailers in that building, and they were moving out, and I knew they were moving out. And I went and ran this guy was in a building on Irving Boulevard, way back in the back of it. I found him. I was like, hey, I got a tenant for your building. And he just baited me. Oh, yeah, you got a deal for me? Cool. And then me and that tenant, me and him were pretty close. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. This guy's like, he's kind of like slow playing me. And I think what he was doing was just trying to get to the deal direct. And that's so anyways, me and him went over there. Me and my client went over there. Hey, we're ready to do this. Like they're a large corporation. And I think once he got to the principal, he was ready to slit my throat. Let me do the rest of the deal. And then we get down to it, he goes, oh, I'm not paying you a commission. I was like, this is a 10-year deal, I was like, so I told my client and they paid me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're going to take care of you on that because they would. But I mean, that site, very mission critical to them now. And now they've purchased the adjacent site. They have 10 contiguous acres down there. So, I mean, that's mission critical for them. And, but that was really cool for them to step in and pay me because this guy straight hosed me.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. I bring him national credit tenant and he just.
That kind of goes back to like, I think there's a lot of good people in our industry. Like when you hear a good story about those tenants, it's like that really kind of gives you like, just like you believe in humanity again. Because we deal with enough, bad people where you're just like, dude, like I'm working my butt off for that. I think 90% of your clients are great, and that 10%, it is just the cut is so deep. Like it's hard to give credit to the other 90%. I think you start thinking it's like 50-50. Yeah, for sure you do. That are bad deals. So it happens, man. Isabella got to witness it firsthand last year. Long-term client of mine. He's like, hey, I want to buy a building. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I've moved this guy like twice, renewed him every time. Hey, I want to buy a building. Okay, cool. I'm kind of like, you don't really have the money, but whatever. And I'll play your game, let you have building buying fantasy. I even told him I'd buy the building with him if he wanted to lease it and he could own it with me. And so we go through this whole exercise. Then Chase calls me one day. He goes, hey, your boy's out here cheating on you. I just toured a building with him and some other dude. I heard that story. That's right. I was like, all right. Well, when he renews, let me know because I have a Loctite NAT car commission agreement where I get paid. That fool ain't getting, this other broker ain't getting paid. That's the thing. People like, unless you do something to piss them off, like I just don't know why people are so sketchy about stuff like that. I don't know. But that, like right then and there, I was like, why am I doing? I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. I'm not going to do this. So, I don't blame you. That was just like that leasing stuff I'm giving away tomorrow. Like, I'm like, hey, man, I sold both those complexes to this guy and, they're great. We'll do the property management on them just because we've already got it all set up, but I'm not going to lease it. I get it. Yeah. So, all right. Well, what about books? You got any books you like? I always like to ask this. I knew you were going to ask this, and I felt bad for my answer. Because you don't read? I don't read. Huh? I listen to... You don't use CRM. You don't read. I don't read. So far, you're
probably the most unique guest we've had because of that. Because everybody else uses CRM and reads.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people would.
It hasn't mattered. You've had a very successful career.
I got lucky. I mean, I'll read. Like I really like politics. So most of the time, so I'll read like the news and stuff like that. But I mean, I really do. And I guess this is only recently, but like podcasts, like I really do. I think I listen to every single one of yours, but maybe one.
Yeah.
The Fort podcast, I think he does a really good job.
Yeah,
Brings
he
some
does.
interesting people. I listened to a couple of Ward's, Richmond. I just think that stuff's more interesting. And like, I really do. I don't have many hobbies. Like, it's kind of sad. Like, I hate golf. Yeah. I like A&M sports, but like, I really don't really care about the Cowboys. Like, I'll watch them and I want them to do well, but it's not like I'm like glued to the TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really do, love what we do.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. But other than that, I'm kind of like done.
I feel like I'm in a place now where I'm just so excited every single day. I was very excited at the beginning of brokerage, but after it's a grind, right? After a while, it kind of grinds you down. But you got to be excited about this stuff. It's fun. It's fun putting deals together to me. That's the real exciting part I like. So, but it's so funny. No CRM, no books. Just a notepad.
Just a notepad. But I mean, I would rather sit there and do
hobbies.
This.
No hobbies.
I have hobbies, but I don't have I
don't have hobbies either. I have music. I'll play music, but other than that.
At least you got music.
Yeah, I'm with you. No golf.
Yeah, I'd rather sit there and just talk about like this stuff or I don't know.
More of this stuff.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't get the whole golf or all that stuff. I just don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm sure they love it, but
some people love like duck hunting.
Yeah.
Have you ever had duck?
Yeah, it ain't good.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always told my son, my son's a big hunter. I said, you know how you cook duck? He goes, how? I go, you take it, you drive it to Whataburger, you throw it in the garbage can out there and go inside and get a taquito.
That's exactly what you do. I mean, duck hunting's fine because that tastes okay if you get all the game out of it. But yeah.
I like dove hunting.
Yeah.
Dove hunting's fun. You don't have to be quiet. It's not cold.
Yeah, you can drink beer.
You can drink beer and hang out, listen to music, whatever. Duck hunting's like it's 28 degrees outside, but we hate these ducks. We're gonna kill them.
Yeah, and you're wet, you're cold. It's 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is.
No, I don't know. Just not that mad at it.
No, I just don't care.
No, that's me though, man. I don't really have many hobbies. Go work out or something. And
I still want to see your studio though at the house.
Yeah, we need to do that. We had that all planned. We had dinner all planned.
I screwed it up.
No, it was Haynes.
Haynes. That's right. That's right.
We were having dinner we were going to have dinner night at the studio. Me, you, Turner, and Haynes.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. We need to get it back on the books. I'll find a date. Well, I always like to ask if you use any kind of software that are unique or anything like that, but it's just a notepad. So.
Yeah, it's a little notepad, yeah.
Well, what's something about you that's unique that no one really knows?
Man, I don't know. I'm a big foodie.
You're a big foodie?
Oh, love, I try to cook and kind of like what you're saying about the duck and the Whataburger, literally, dude, half the time I'll be like, F this and I'll throw it away.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to R&D or I'll go to somewhere in HP Village or somewhere good, but I love trying out new restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your thing?
Yeah, that's my thing.
R&D. Will loves R&D.
Dude, it's the best.
Anytime anyone's like, let's get lunch, Will's like, how about R&D kitchen? I'm like, golly.
Dude, it's bad.
We went into another restaurant the other day and had lunch. And somebody was working at that restaurant that worked at R&D and hugged Will. They're like, Will.
Good to see you. He switched over.
Like, golly. So he loves R&D. What's your other favorite restaurants?
Javier's, dude. I love Javier's.
Yeah, Javier's is pretty good.
Javier, and I like atmosphere too. So R&D has sometimes a little too snobby for me.
Yeah.
But then Javier's, you just go there and the food's always pretty good. But it's just the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. I like sushi a lot. I'm trying to think of a sushi place.
R&D has good sushi.
R&D is the best sushi and the best cheeseburger, I think. Hudson House is a good one.
Yeah. Okay. So we were at Hudson House, and that's where the ex-R&D employees saw.
That makes so much sense. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have many hobbies. So I like going to new places and restaurants and just kind of fun.
I'll tell you a new place I went this year that I thought was very interesting. It's the Dallas Country Club.
Oh, God, dude. That is like the last place for you.
Oh, I know. I was such a fish out of water there.
You just like nervous. And, like
no. I knew exactly what it was. I was like, I know what this is going to be. I've never been there. I just want to like confirm my thoughts. And someone had invited us. Some insurance broker was trying to get our business. Like, hey, let's go have lunch at the Dallas Country Club. I was like, man, you did not profile me.
Yeah, right? You did not look me up, did you?
And, so I was like, Will, we're going to go eat lunch at the Dallas Country Club. He's like, oh, God, I don't, you know.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, no, we're going to go do it, man. And it was as advertised.
Yeah, it's Nathan got joined, I don't know, 2 years ago. So
did he really?
Like, oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's perfect for him.
Oh, it's perfect.
Perfect for him. So foodie. I like Javier's. Javier's is, I don't know. It's kind of cool just hanging out and drinking tequila there.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so what is your favorite like drink or liquor, beer, whatever it is?
My favorite drink is probably a Bombay Sapphire Martini.
Okay.
Slightly dirty with blue cheese olives.
Yeah.
Me and Jeff drink those all the time. And we like to call them we're eating our vegetables.
Dude, I love a good martini.
Dude.
Who do you think has the best martini in Dallas?
Best martini in Dallas. I don't know. I really like the Cowboys Club Martini. I think they do a good job at it.
You ever been in Torelli's in Greenville?
No.
Oh, dude.
Pretty good.
Oh, the best.
What is it? Italian?
Yeah, but it's like, it's old. It's been forever. But there's this guy named Roberto. And I swear, like, I've thought about paying him to come over to the house. But like, hey, just for an hour, just teach me how you do this. Because it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's got the ice on top. But I get the same thing.
It's, I love martinis. It's, I remember one day, me and Jeff, we were out at his house. And we were like, we did a bunch of work. We like planted like 8 or 10 acres of crops or whatever to, for hunting or something. And we would go inside the house and it's like we made these martinis. It was like painkiller. It was like, that was great.
You're just, yeah, good night.
So yeah, those are probably first. I really like drinking like really good tequilas just on ice though.
Yeah, I do too. If you can't like you can taste a little bit, but it's not like you're like, oh, like Jose Cuervo. I do enjoy that.
There's this one I really, really like that's Michael Jordan's tequila that's Sincoro.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like that, just on an ice cube, pretty legit.
That's good to know. I need to try that.
So, what's your favorite drink?
It's probably Tito's Martini, slightly dirty, blue cheese olives.
Mm-hmm.
If it's good. If it's a bad martini, though, man, I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to be a chirp. Can I just get a Tito soda?
Dude, like, I've seen people really mess up the vermouth part. I'm like, this doesn't go in here.
Yes,
like,
I totally agree.
I'm like, oh my God. And like, I feel bad, but like, I did. One time I had one, and I was like, I kind of like powered through about half of it, and I finally just went, hey man, I can't do this. Like,
vermouth should never go in a martini.
No. Honestly, if I make them at home, I don't even put my vermouth. I don't even like.
No.
I just don't even mess with it.
I wouldn't. It's gross.
It's not really worth it.
Where's your favorite place to travel?
Favorite place to travel? Miami.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Love it. Love Miami. Me and my wife like going to Miami.
Where do you stay?
So we stay at the one hotel in the residences because you can get them for like $400 and something a night.
Dang.
And it's like staying at the hotel, which is $1,500 a night. So my wife's pretty good at the vacation hack. So she's got it all figured out.
Dude, if you can figure out the hacks and stuff, you can save a ton of money.
Yeah. So I love Miami. I really like New York.
Okay, good. Yeah.
You know, I like going to New York. I just went there about a month and a half ago. Went to the Pantera concert at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I think you did tell me you were doing that.
So that was fun. That was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience.
New York's awesome.
Yeah. Where do you like to travel?
I love going to New York during Christmas time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then anywhere in Mexico. I think Mexico is so much better than the Caribbean.
My wife has been very turned off to Mexico, so I have not been to Mexico in like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
She thinks the cartel's going to murder us.
Yeah.
All those things. And so we went, I'll tell you what, we went to Key West last summer and had a really good time. It was my family and Jeff's family. And we went to there's like this little island right off of the main Key West thing. They had these little bungalow houses on them. We stayed there. It was really cool.
They have like a cool town, like you walk around, or is it just kind of
They had a ferry in between, so you would go into town. They didn't. This was just a resort. This little island was just a resort. They had a ferry going back and forth every 15 minutes. You go over there, take the ferry, and go into the main town, go to the bars, hang out.
That's cool.
It's fun. It's a cool place.
Florida's cool. I haven't done Miami right. I don't think.
I can give you a lot of tips and tricks there. It's funny. There's this guy we know. He does what we do, but he lives in Miami, and every time I go there, I'm like, give me something new to, if you saw his Instagram, it's only the best. Like, he only does the best things. And,
I can picture it.
And so I'm like, hey, where do I go eat? So I've kind of figured out a bunch of restaurants there through him.
Yeah, I've heard, somebody at Stone Lake was telling me that they go there now for New Market, and they're like, yeah, we actually really like it. Good restaurants, good scenery.
Yeah, I think you better move there, Stone Lake. I don't think you can. I don't think you can kind of part-time Miami. I don't think you can fly in and out. I think you better have a dude there, like Miami proper.
You think because they're very like they don't like outsiders or what?
I just think you got to live it down there, man. You got to probably speak Spanish because it's like a foreign country. And I think if you want to be real successful down, and there's not a lot of land to develop. You know what I mean? You're Lincoln straight.
Yeah,
you're Lincoln straight on all sides. But we've looked at going to. If we ever expanded another market, we would go to essentially the triangle of Florida, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and work those markets. But I would have to have a guy living in Miami, like,
You gotta be ingrained, I guess, is what you're saying.
I would, if I was going to do it, I would go down there. I would befriend every single broker and then try to get one of them to flip to the principal side.
Are they kind of different? Button, 4 buttons? And
I don't know. I haven't really called on much of it. We looked at one deal last year in Miami, and honestly, it was so big. It was like a $40 million deal. So we flipped it to Fort, and I don't know if they ever really got anywhere with it. And, I think they offered on it, but I don't think anything happened. But I just think, I don't know. I think it's tough to really cover something by not being there, and that's kind of part of the reasons we're getting an analyst now, so that Will can just be in our other markets, San Antonio, Austin. Like, we get a lot of traction in San Antonio because we spend a lot of time down there. That's part of the reason, like that big building we were showing you that we bought down there. Somebody's like, well, why do you want to buy this? I go, well, another good thing about it is it makes us come down here a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
So we'll be in the market, and we're trying to get into Houston, but man, we got to get down there more. Like, we got to just be there. It's how it is. Like, some guy calls you, hey, I want to buy a building. It's got to be like, hey, I'm here in town again, man. Hey, I'm here in town again, man. Hey, I'm here. It's like, it's a different cold call now, right? I cold call on brokers like I used to cold call on tenants.
You're exactly right. Like, Long Point does a really good job of that. They're like, hey, we're in town, drinks, dinner, or just, hey, whatever, we're in town. Like, yeah, which is great. But it's like, you think of them, because some people you just don't, nothing against them, you just forget.
Yeah, you just don't. They have to be front of mind, right? And so that's what that's the big thing I think you can do now with social media is, like, you can kind of be front of mind and omnipresent because people are thinking about you because they're following you on Instagram or they're following you on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, or they're listening to your podcast or whatever, So that's, a big part of, I enjoy doing this. This is a blast. You know what I mean? Like, I love being able to interview all my friends and all this stuff. But also at the end of the day, like, we get inbound stuff off of this, right? Some guys like, hey man, listen to your podcast. This is great. What that's what me and Will kind of do our segment. So people just kind of know who we are and what we buy and what we do. And, but at the end of the day, it's lead gen, Yeah,
it really is. And y'all done a great job at getting other markets too and getting deals. And
yeah,
because how it is when you're a broker and you don't know, like you're saying, this guy is like, is this guy going to retrade or drop, or is he going to Because that's how you make your living. So you're very cautious.
Well, and that's, I've been kind of in the weeds on some operation stuff, but I was telling Willie, it's like, man, I want to get, like, if we want to get in these other markets, I need to get down there because I have that one thing with these brokers, like, hey, man, I've lived this. You know what I mean? Look me up. We got the skins on the wall. You know what I mean? And so it's a different conversation, I would think, for somebody, So I think that's our unique, and we need to capitalize on it. So
if you're a broker and you're trying to buy deals and you're talking to another broker, at least for me, I'm like, okay, you're cool.
Yeah,
because I just know how it is.
Yeah, you know how it's going to work.
Right.
I don't need you to do all this work for me. I probably am going to need some comps if it's a new market, but like, just send them to me. I don't need you to explain it to me. I understand it. Like, you don't want to go through an education process. You know what I mean? It's like, golly, I could have just sold it to this guy and he would have just bought it,
Yeah, and he probably would have thrown me extra point or, whatever it is.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that we're, I don't know, trying to change things I work on in our company and things that maybe only I can do or, things I can do to help get Will more production. And, so that's why we're getting him an analyst and all that stuff. So he can just keep BDing,
I think it's smart.
Yeah. So, well, this was fun.
It's a blast, dude. We do need to do dinner though.
Yeah, we need to get the dinner. I actually have Haynes coming on next. So,
oh, nice.
So we will get this all put together. So,
that'll be fun. You need to have Jeff on.
I know. I'm gonna try to get him on after Haynes. So we've been debating, like, okay, gotta get Jeff on. Will anybody be able to tell the difference in who's talking? Because that's my biggest concern.
Okay, so before we go, this is, I don't know, 2-3 years in the business. And so Jeff called me, and I always knew Jeff was because of you, but I never met him, I don't think, at that point in time. So he calls me, didn't have his number, and I'm like, Jeremy, like, why are you calling me on a different number or whatever it was? He was like, oh, this is Jeff. And I was like, no, like, BS. And he was like, dude, it's Jeff. I was like, oh my gosh, y'all sound like identical.
Yeah.
No, it's wild.
If we're in a room together and you're not looking at who's speaking, you wouldn't know. So,
yeah, that's
pretty funny.
Well, yeah, you need to have him on, though.
Yeah.
Be a good one.
No, I am. So, I was debating do I have Will interview him, but I'm like, I need to just do it. We'll do it. Well, I thought about, the Kelsey brothers interview each other. They probably sound a lot alike. You know what I mean? So, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, dude.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Stephen Williamson. Thanks, man.
Thanks, dude.
See ya.